Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. It's not built overnight. It's built moment by moment. Every time you choose to believe in something greater than your fear, your guilt, or your doubt, there will always be reasons to stay the same. Habits feel safe. Pain becomes familiar. But familiar doesn't mean right. And safe doesn't mean free. Growth begins the moment you dare to question the story you've been living in. Some stories were written for you before you even had a voice. You were told who you are, what you're worth, and how far you could go. But what if those stories were never true? What if you get to write a new one starting today? There's a verse that says, "Behold, I make all things new." That includes you, your heart, your mindset, your purpose. No matter how many years were lost, nothing is wasted in the hands of renewal. The hardest part of healing isn't the pain. It's releasing the identity you built around it. Who are you when you're no longer the wounded one? Who are you when you're no longer carrying the burden? That question is terrifying, but also beautiful. You are allowed to begin again, without explanation, without permission, without needing to prove anything to anyone. Starting over is not a failure. It's a sacred act of choosing life over survival. And if you listen closely, there's a quiet strength rising within you, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that doesn't seek attention, the kind that stands in stillness and says, "I'm not who I was, and I won't go back." You'll notice that some people won't understand. They liked the version of you who kept quiet, who stayed small, who didn't challenge the pain. Let them go. Not out of anger, but out of respect for the path you're called to walk. There will be days when your past calls louder than your future. That's normal. But just because it calls doesn't mean you have to answer. You can pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I've already walked that road. I don't need to walk it again. What's waiting ahead isn't perfection, it's possibility. It's the chance to live with open hands and an open heart, to build something new, not from scratch, but from experience. And this time, it's built on truth. There comes a moment when the weight of yesterday feels heavier than it should, not because the past has grown larger, but because we never put it down. We carry it like invisible bricks in a bag no one else sees. But what if I told you that you can set it down right now? Too often, we walk through life dragging memories like chains, moments we can't change, words we can't take back, wounds we never asked for. We replay scenes in our mind, hoping the ending might be different this time, but it never is. What happened, happened, and no amount of reliving can rewrite it. Now pause with me. Imagine you're in a quiet room, alone with your thoughts. One voice whispers, "You should have known better." Another says, "It's too late now." But there's a third voice, soft but real. It says, "You're still breathing." That means you still get to choose. And that voice? That's the one we silence the most. So many people think redemption belongs to saints, that only the perfect deserve a new beginning. But that's not how grace works. Grace appears where it's least expected. It shows up when you've fallen, not when you've won. And the truth is, none of us are beyond a second chance. If you're still watching this, maybe that voice is calling you too. Not to forget what you've been through, but to stop living inside it. The past was a teacher, yes, but it was never meant to become your home. You were never meant to live there. Let me ask you something. If you had one more chance to choose who you become tomorrow, would you still allow yesterday to answer for you? Would you still believe the story you told yourself when you were hurting? Or would you be bold enough to write a new one? There's power in decisions made in silence, late at night, early in the morning, in the car, at work. Those private, quiet moments when no one's watching but you and God. It's in those moments we choose healing or more hiding. What will you choose this time? You may be thinking, but I've tried before. I know, and maybe it didn't last. Maybe it wasn't your time, but maybe now it is. Maybe this is the moment everything starts to change. Not because the world changes, but because you finally give yourself permission to live without chains. Take a deep breath, let it out slowly. That breath is proof. Proof that the future is still being written. And if you're still here, maybe it's because what's ahead is worth more than what's behind. Before we move forward, tell me, what part of this has spoken to you so far? Your voice matters more than you know. Let's keep going. And thank you truly for staying with me until here. The best part of this story is just beginning. Every new day carries a quiet invitation. It never shouts, never forces its way in, but it waits patiently at the edge of your consciousness, asking one simple question: will you try again? Most people think change starts big, with grand gestures or dramatic shifts. But in truth, change often starts in the smallest of moments. A refusal to speak in anger, a decision to get out of bed, the courage to forgive. And sometimes it begins with something as simple as letting go. Letting go isn't weakness. It isn't surrender. It's strength in its purest form. Because anyone can hold on to pain. Anyone can stay angry. But it takes courage to release what you've never received justice for. That's the kind of strength heaven notices. There are wounds we don't talk about. Silent bruises on the soul. And the problem with silence is it grows. When you ignore it, it multiplies. When you bury it, it rots. That's why truth matters. Not just telling it to others, but telling it to yourself. It's okay to admit, I messed up. I stayed too long. I gave too much. I ignored the signs. That kind of honesty is not a confession of failure. It's the first breath of freedom. And freedom, once tasted, cannot be forgotten. Some say time heals everything, but healing isn't automatic. Healing is a choice, a practice, a discipline. It means facing things you'd rather forget, revisiting places you swore never to return, but only to reclaim the parts of you that got left behind. And maybe, just maybe, the reason you're hearing this right now is because something deep inside knows it's time. Time to stop pretending you're fine. Time to stop performing strength. Time to remember that even the strongest people are allowed to fall apart. You are not created to live in shame. You are not born to carry guilt for a lifetime. There is a verse that says, though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be white as snow. That's not just poetry. That's a promise. And it belongs to anyone brave enough to believe it. So when the voice of your past comes knocking, you don't have to answer. You can say, I've learned, I've grown, and I'm moving on. You can walk away without apology. Not out of pride, but out of peace. This isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing what you carry with you. And from this moment on, let what you carry be light. Let it be love. Let it be faith. Let it be the hope that tomorrow is still yours to shape. Truth doesn't always feel good at first. Sometimes it breaks what we thought was solid. But truth also sets you free. Free from illusions. Free from roles you were never meant to play. Free to be honest, even if honesty makes things uncomfortable. You were not designed to pretend, not to perform healing, not to smile when you're breaking inside. You were created to feel, to wrestle, to grow, and then to rise. And there's no shame in the process. Only grace. Letting go of the past doesn't mean you dishonor it. It means you finally understand its place. It was the road, not the destination. A season, not the whole story. A chapter, not your identity. And what do we do with old chapters? We close them with reverence. We take what we've learned, and we move on, not bitter, not broken, but better, wiser, kinder, stronger than we ever imagined we could be. You may not feel strong, but strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like showing up anyway, making that phone call, saying no, saying yes, speaking truth, holding back tears until you're alone. That, too, is strength. Strength also looks like surrender, like placing what you cannot fix into the hands of a God who can, like trusting that your life has purpose, even when you can't see the full picture, like believing that mercy isn't just for others, it's for you too, and it's in the quiet moments when the world goes still that these truths return. You were made for more, not more achievements, not more applause, but more peace, more presence, more depth, more life. Life isn't about proving yourself. It's about knowing yourself. And sometimes, in order to know who you are, you must first unlearn who you were told to be. So if this chapter of your life feels unfamiliar, that's okay. It means you're growing. It means the old shell no longer fits. It means you're becoming someone new, someone who refuses to be defined by the worst day they ever lived. And in that becoming, there is hope. Hope that whispers, this is not the end. It never was. Hope that builds a future not in denial of the past, but in honor of it. You are walking towards something sacred. Keep going. Sometimes we wait for a sign, a message, a breakthrough. We think it has to be loud, obvious, miraculous. But more often than not, the sign comes in the form of stillness, a quiet knowing, a subtle shift inside the heart that whispers, you're ready. You see, transformation doesn't happen when everything changes around you. It happens when something changes within you, and no one can see it, but you feel it. Like a curtain slowly lifting after years of darkness. Like your soul finally catching its breath. There is a moment when pain no longer owns you, when the memory still exists, but its power is gone. That moment doesn't come by force. It comes when you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it taught you. And what it taught you is this: you survived. You made it here, despite the confusion, despite the heartbreak, despite the things you never told anyone. You're still standing. That alone is evidence of grace. There is honor in simply continuing, in getting up one more time than you fell, in speaking kindly to yourself when no one else does, in forgiving what seems unforgivable, not for them, but for your own soul too. Breathe again. Sometimes the past feels like a shadow that follows too closely. But remember, shadows exist because there's light nearby. And that light is in you. It always has been. You just forgot where to look. You are not the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. You are not the brokenness that others handed. You are not the version of yourself that settled for less because you were afraid. You are more. Always have been. This life is not about perfection. It's about becoming. And becoming means shedding skin that no longer fits, even if it's all you've ever known. Becoming means walking away from comfort to grow into courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward anyway, even when you're shaking, even when the outcome is uncertain, even when every part of you wants to run back to what's familiar. What lies ahead may be unknown, yes, but so is everything you once feared and survived. So now, stand taller, breathe deeper, walk forward, not because you have no fear, but because you have something greater: faith.